7:36 on TSN 690. It is Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross. We're here until 9 a.m. Back tomorrow, 7 to 9 a.m. Still to come here on this show. In about 15 minutes' time, we'll chat some amateur youth sports with the Suburban Sports editor, Mark Lidbetter. Just after 8 o'clock, it's Habs Breakfast. Arpin Bazu of LNash.com will join us. And after 8:30, we'll talk some Jays with Matt Cause of TSN 1050. But right now here on the program, we're pleased to welcome in from La Presse Canadienne, the Canadian Press. You can follow him on Twitter at Fred Daigle. It is Fred Daigle. Hey, Fred, how you doing?
Doing great, Matthew. How are you doing?
I'm well. What's on the menu this morning at the Daigle house? Pancakes or what?
Every Saturday is Pancakes Day here. This is a family tradition that we can't get rid of.
Wow. All right. And Quebec maple syrup?
Of course. Nothing
there you
else.
go.
Well, but the daughters are having Nutella. This is one thing. On weekends, the Nutella the content of Nutella is available to children.
All right. That's fair. All right. Let's talk a little sports here, Fred. I know you cover a lot. You've covered some Jays this year, Habs, Alouettes. So we could talk a little bit of everything with you. Big win last night by Cleveland over the Jays, 2-0 victory. Well pitched game, obviously. Did you have a prediction coming into this series?
Seriously, as much as it hurts me as a Yankees fan to root for the Blue Jays, I think the Blue Jays are going to get through the Indians. But yesterday, wow, what a masterpiece by Clubber and by Estrada as well on that matter. But one mistake, an 0-2 breaking ball. I think it was a changeup that he explained he wanted to bounce down, and it didn't, and Lindor just got a paw on it. And wow, I think that's the only hard hit ball against Estrada all game long, and it turned out to be the difference. But Kluber is an excellent pitcher, an Cy Young winner, so that might have been the toughest hurdle in the Blue Jays' way for the next 4 games. So now with J.A. Happ today against Tomlin, who's not a bad pitcher, but who didn't have the same season as Happ. I'm expecting the Jays to level things up, but now I think it's already a must-win game because you can't come back to Toronto being 0-2 in the whole. And we saw yesterday with runners in scoring positions that the bats were held maybe too tight for their own good, and they had some problems. But they have to find the same group they had against the Rangers and the Orioles, where they seemed relaxed at the plate in situations where runners were in scoring positions. We didn't see that yesterday.
Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross here on TSN 690. We're in conversation with Fred Daigle of La Presse Canadienne. Dave Trentadue here also in studio. Dave, did he answer your question? You were going to ask something?
Yeah, right. I mean, yesterday they stranded 7 runners in the first 4 innings. They went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, Fred. So I was just going to ask, I mean, are you worried a little bit that their bats are going in a slump? Or is it just a product of the pitching, yesterday's pitcher, Corey Kluber?
Well, if you have September in mind, then you say, okay, they had a hiccup in the first week of the playoffs, and now they're back to normal. But if you want to be more positive, you just look at the playoffs and you say, okay, that's a bad game, and they're going to get back on track today. I guess we'll see today. Let's hope for the Blue Jays fans that it's not September coming back around. But yeah, you were facing one of the top pitchers of the American League yesterday, so those things happen. And you see, I think it's Russell Martin who left 5 runners on base yesterday. He had a really bad game at the plate, so maybe today in the same situations he'll have 4 RBIs, and we won't be talking about the first game anymore. So we'll see. I'm not too worried now. I think Kluber pitched a masterpiece yesterday. So what can you do?
Chatting with Fred Daigle of La Presse Canadienne here on TSN 690's Weekend Game Plan. When I saw the result last night, Fred, of in the CFL of Ottawa beating Hamilton 30-29, I said to myself, wow, if Montreal had actually played well in back-to-back games and beaten Edmonton last week, they'd be in a very exciting position tonight playing Calgary, because they would be, within striking distance perhaps of Hamilton. But that loss last week really kind of just killed all momentum from the previous week. Do you expect them to get clobbered today in Calgary or stay competitive?
Well, it's always tough, even though I've been covering this league for, I think, the past 8 years. You never can predict anything, almost never can predict anything in the CFL, because any given day, I mean, that's cliche to the max, but anything can have a bad game. But, I mean, you look at Calgary, and it's seamless. Since the first game, they're playing perfect football, almost perfect football, and they haven't lost at home at all this season. So you kind of take a look at this game and say, wow, how can the Alouettes turn such a bad game that they had last week around and go and beat the Stampeders at home? The Alouettes put themselves in a very bad spot very early this season. And, I mean, there's still hope because the Eastern Division is so poor this season, but you just watch their losses that they suffered this season, and you just wonder why couldn't they pull one or two more in the first half of the season? They'd be in such a good place right now, but now they're deep in a hole that they have to climb out of, and I don't see it. I don't see a very positive outcome for today's game.
Fred, if I'm not mistaken, Duron Carter was on a 1-year contract, right? And his production has dropped off as of late. He doesn't have, I don't think, a touchdown in the past 6 weeks. Are you concerned at all with his play and with the dust up with Cato? Do you see him here next season?
I hope he's back. Seriously, he's a tremendous athlete. I think that with Coach Chapdelaine, I think the air has been cleaned out a bit, and that they can both move on and get back on the same playing page. I mean, you don't have to be friends with the guy outside the field, but I think on the field they can pull it out. But the thing is too is Carter is a master of big runs and big plays, and you throw to him for 40-yarders and all that. And I think that right now Chapdelaine wants to make things easier for Cato, so Carter might not be his first read on every play. If Duron can understand that a younger quarterback needs some grooming, and if he sticks around, I think that in the last games of this season and maybe next year, you'll see him becoming more of a target like he used to be. But I think for Cato right now, I think that Chapdelaine wants to make things so much easier and make sure he gets easy reads maybe on play. So maybe they'll draw new routes for Carter that are maybe shorter, trickier. Or I don't think you're going to see Cato try a lot of 30-yarders and more from now on for the end of the season. I think they want to make things easy. I was reading in La Presse Plus this morning Miguel Bugeaud's piece on the Stampeders and how Chapdelaine talked well about the system they put on when Bolivine Mitchell got in the league. They were relying on John Cornish and making things easier. So if you read between the lines here, I think that's what Chapdelaine wants to do with Cato.
He is Fred Daigle from La Presse Canadienne. You can follow him on Twitter at Fred Daigle. Fred, thank you so much this morning for spending some time with us, and save a couple pancakes for Dave here. He looks hungry.
Well, if you want to come by to Repentigny to pick them up, let me know at what time you're going to be here.
I will take you up on that offer.
Merci, Fred.
All right, merci. Bye-bye.